Today, I'd like to talk to you about Math in Focus, the United States edition of Singapore's most widely used math program. Math in Focus is helping homeschoolers achieve success in math by offering the Singapore approach in a format that is accessible to American students. Based on My Pals Are Here, the math curriculum used by over 80% of students in Singapore, Math in Focus is available for grades K through 8. Today we are going to discuss how Singapore became a world leader in mathematics. We'll also explore how Math in Focus can bring authentic Singapore math to your students. So why is Singapore math so important? As you may know, Singapore is known for its exceptional results on international mathematics assessments. Two of the most well-known are the TIMSS report and the PISA study. Since 1995, Singapore students have consistently scored at the top of the TIMSS report. On this chart, you see that Singapore students scored 599 and ranked second. Here are some additional highlights from the most recent TIMSS report. Singapore fourth graders scored at the top in all three categories, and number one in applying mathematics. Additionally, Singapore 15-year-olds who participated in the PISA study also scored at the top, significantly above average. Singapore ranked number 2 out of all participants. Singapore achieved its success in math through a new curriculum, what we refer to as Singapore Math. Singapore Math combines a strong pedagogy that emphasizes mathematical problem solving with clear, effective lesson delivery to prepare students for international achievement. It is guided by the Singapore Ministry of Education's Mathematics Framework Pentagon. This pentagon represents the mathematics framework from the Ministry of Education in Singapore. Problem solving is at the heart of the framework. Supporting problem solving is a base of concepts, skills, and processes that work together to provide a foundation of mathematical knowledge. What really sets Singapore Math apart is its equal emphasis on attitudes and metacognition. Singapore Math recognizes that students must have positive attitudes and be engaged in mathematics in order to excel. Positive attitudes give students the confidence they need to tackle tough problems and persevere in solving them. Here's a quote from the Singapore Ministry of Education math syllabus. Mathematics is also a subject of enjoyment and excitement, which offers students opportunities for creative work and moments of enlightenment and joy. You can see how Singapore's approach to mathematics is one that emphasizes building positive attitudes and getting students excited about learning and using math. Metacognition ensures that students develop a deep enough understanding to self-monitor and successfully apply math in real-life situations. Singapore math teachers consistently ask questions like, "Are you sure?" and "How do you know?" Students need to be able to pause while they are solving and consider whether their thinking makes sense. An emphasis on this type of thinking skill is what will push our students to the next level of math achievement. Singapore's mathematics pedagogy is carefully constructed to integrate key proven principles in mathematics instruction: concrete to pictorial to abstract, consistent visual models for problem solving, emphasis on big ideas, including place value, and focus and coherence that leads to mastery. One of the key factors in Singapore's success is their consistent use of the concrete to pictorial to abstract learning progression. In order for students to reach the level of rigor required to succeed on an international level, students cannot simply memorize procedures. Rather, they must truly understand math concepts. To do this, Singapore Math introduces concepts concretely using manipulatives. This allows students to experience math concepts in a hands-on way. In this example from second grade, you can see how students begin by using snap cubes to concretely experience what 10 plus 12 really means. Then they move to the pictorial stage, where they are able to visually represent their understanding of the concept. In this example, students translate their experience with the snap cubes into a bar model. Finally, once students understand the concept concretely and are able to translate it pictorially, they move to the abstract stage using symbols. Since they have followed the concrete to pictorial to abstract learning progression, however, the symbols have meaning, and students are better able to apply them to problem-solving situations. This concrete to pictorial to abstract progression carries throughout the curriculum. The example we just looked at was from second grade, when students learned to use bar models to solve addition problems. Here's another example from sixth grade, where students are exploring the meaning of ratio. Can you see where concrete to pictorial to abstract learning is occurring? Another key aspect of the Singapore curriculum is the use of visual models. These models build throughout the curriculum and across years, providing students a consistent way to tackle complex problems. One example is number bonds, which help students visually represent part-whole relationships. Here is an example from first grade, where students use number bonds to show how the number 4 can be split into two parts, 1 and 3. Here's another example from third grade, which is more complex. Students use number bonds to explore how breaking a whole into parts can facilitate mental math. Another example of visual models in Singapore math is bar modeling. It is introduced in second grade and carries through middle school. Bar models help students visualize and solve word problems in routine and non-routine situations. Here's the example from second grade that we looked at before. The bar model is drawn to represent the addition problem 10 plus 12. This problem may seem simple, but consistent use of bar models prepares students to confidently handle more complex problems. Let's take a look at a problem from third grade, one that's a little more difficult. A third grader may struggle to understand where to get started. Bar modeling is a great tool for students to use to jump right into problems. They just need to start drawing it out. This boosts confidence and addresses the attitude segment of the Singapore math framework we looked at earlier. Once students start drawing the bar model, they are better able to see the number relationships and identify what they need to do to solve accurately. Students draw bars that represent the problem. Once you draw the bar models, the problem makes much more sense. It is clear what operations need to be performed to get the solution. This allows students to master more difficult problems at an earlier age. Additionally, the Teacher Edition gives you the support you need to guide your child through the curriculum. Walked out examples ensure that parents have a good understanding of the models that students will use, supporting you as you implement these effective models. Singapore's pedagogy is based around the idea that certain overarching big ideas should be consistently emphasized throughout the curriculum. One of those big ideas is place value. As you begin looking through the Singapore math books, you will notice that concepts are consistently anchored in a strong understanding of place value. Students use base 10 manipulatives and place value chips to truly understand what it means to add, subtract, multiply, and divide. It is this deep understanding of place value that allows students to manipulate numbers in problem-solving situations and apply concepts in complex ways. Here's an example from first grade. You see how students use manipulatives to demonstrate how 1 10 and 3 1s make 13. They do this with snap cubes as well as base 10 manipulatives on a place value chart. Here's a more complex example from fourth grade. Rather than simply learning the procedure of regrouping, students model what it means to regroup using place value chip manipulatives and a place value chart. This develops a deeper understanding of place value, number, and operations. One of the most important facets of the Singapore Math program is focus, coherence, and mastery. Math and Focus is designed to cover fewer topics per year in greater depth in order to develop deep understanding. Students are given the time they need to truly master concepts. Let's take a look at this comparison that was done by the American Institute for Research. Look at the number of chapters, lessons, and average pages per lesson in Singapore Math versus a typical American program. Singapore Math contains fewer chapters and lessons, but it spends more time on these concepts. Here's an example of the table of contents from grade 7. You can see how many of the lessons span across multiple days, giving students the time to develop concepts to mastery. Since Singapore Math emphasizes mastery and builds in enough time for students to truly develop deep understanding, students are able to build upon their previous learning from year to year to develop more complex thinking. Here's an example of how concepts build from kindergarten through 5th grade. Students start by learning about numbers through 100 in depth, and then learning becomes more complex as they get older. Finally, it's important that assessments measure mathematics ability and ensure that students have reached mastery. Singapore Math assessments measure 3 different categories so that parents can see exactly what students know and can adjust or group accordingly. The first is procedural calculation. The second is routine application. The third is new or different application. This means that students are able to apply their mastery of a concept in non-routine situations. Teaching students this kind of flexibility and getting them used to seeing problems that are a little different than what they solved before prepares them for the challenge that they will encounter in real life. Singapore Math assessments are aimed at ensuring students truly understand and use the information and skills they have learned. The true success of Singapore Math comes from the way these principles work together seamlessly. Any one principle in isolation will not have the same effect as all of them working together in a complete curriculum. Math and Focus is the U.S. edition of Singapore's most widely used elementary and middle school programs. The math curriculum that launched Singapore to international success is the same in both the U.S. and Singapore editions. In collaboration with Marshall Cavendish, Houghton Mifflin Harcourt has ensured that all problems are relevant to U.S. students and has provided robust teachers' materials. Let's take a look at those teacher materials. Here's a table of contents from the Math and Focus book. You can see how deeply Math and Focus goes into individual concepts and how long they are studied. Topics such as place value of whole numbers are covered very thoroughly within a chapter. Many lessons take 1 day, but some can take 2 or 3 days. And the lessons include instruction, hands-on activities, games, practice and apply, math journal, put on your thinking cap, and other activities. Here you can see the many features provided in the Teacher's Edition. This is a sample lesson from Grade 4, Chapter 6. The lesson is structured to take students systematically through an individual concept, moving from learn to guided practice to let's practice to practice and apply. Also, you can see the amount of additional information that appears in the Teacher's Edition. Lesson features in the Teacher's Edition include 5-minute lesson warm-up, best practices, common errors for advanced learners, and extensive notes for each section of the lesson. Here's the final page of the lesson. The practice and apply portion of the lesson is completed in the student workbook, and answers are provided in the Teacher's Edition.